This is Out Loud and Laughing.
Hi, friends. We are excited because we are sitting down with a man who has spent 2 decades proving that you don't have to fit in to belong. He's a singer, songwriter, and a mental health titan who has released 10 plus studio albums, but today he's wearing a different hat. He's the architect behind Music in Demand, a powerhouse agency that is finally giving the entire LGBTQIA plus artist the financial and professional seat at the table they've always deserved. Whether you know him from his Electro-Pop anthems or his fearless advocacy for recovery and wellness, today we are looking at how he's turned his own survival into a blueprint for the entire community. Logan Lynn, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks
Yo,
for having me on. That was a lovely
amazing.
intro. I appreciate that. I gotta have you guys enter all rooms I'm about to enter and do that before I enter. I love it.
We're we're great at holding doors,
Yeah.
Logan. So
We are
you-
the ultimate fluffers, honestly.
Perfect.
we have to dive right in.
Yeah.
I'm so interested. A little background on Brian and I. We love technology and bringing people together. We love how you're using this in an incredible way. So you've launched this new venture, Music in Demand. Can you tell us more about it from your side?
Yeah, for sure. We're a global LGBTQ plus talent agency. We're really working to disrupt mainstream music and entertainment industry through queer and trans visibility. That's the elevator pitch. And it is sort of the guiding light for all of our work. Like you said in the intro, have been around for quite some time doing, very out, very queer, very gay, open art, as well as just partnerships. And, I've been openly queer since before Will and Grace. So, my career has seen a lot. And a lot of what I experienced in the early days is just I was an out musician with major labels signing me or whatever the experience was, certainly agents, was just like, no, nobody really got me. Nobody really made space for me to stay, be safe, stick around, get paid. And it was often like, sort of a caricature of what they thought I should be versus like somebody who's like making space for me to be myself out in whatever entertainment room we're in. And so, this platform was built in the direction of exactly the opposite of some of my experiences. And also, I've had times where people lifted me up, other bands helped my career, other bands took me on the road. And so being that person or that agency for other LGBTQ acts was kind of the idea, and it really took off. We started based it off of Drag in Demand, which has been around for a second as a platform, and I signed 30 artists before the end of the year last year, and we're off and
Wow.
running.
That's amazing. And especially since you've been the artist for such a long time, right? Brian mentioned 10 plus albums worth of stories.
Yeah.
But with Music in Demand, you've now sort of moved into the role of the gatekeeper, or rather like the person opening the gate. 30 plus sign-ons like last year. That's insane.
Yeah.
So, I'm curious, was there like a specific aha moment where you realized that the next great work wasn't going to be a song, but a business, like,
Yeah, I think so. I mean, many, many years ago, I sort of had a thing in my own career where I had to quit this major label because it was so horrible. And for years after that, I wasn't able to like perform or be myself, be Logan Lynn publicly, until the Dandy Warhols went and got my catalog back from that label and gave it back to me. So, I had that whole experience of like, holy shit, what am I going to do? And at that point in time, I started doing, community work, started just like thinking outside of music, which led me down a path of mental health, executive work, then into management. I've been on Portugal Le Mans management team for years and years. So I think it just happened accidentally. Like I still have been making art. I've still been building my own career as a musician, but I like feeling useful, and I feel super useful in this space. I have levers I can pull for other people now that nobody ever pulled for me. And I just think what a great thing to be able to sort of facilitate an all boats rise moment for queer and trans acts.
100%. I mean, I've been on the website musicindemand.com, everyone.
Thank you.
Uh can you walk us through though before I even go into some other topics like around like how easy is it to book talent on your site?
Yeah, well, you mentioned that phrase gatekeeping, and I think that's an interesting choice because you're right that actually we're trying to not gatekeep. We're trying to do sort of a flatten this old archaic system of like you have to know somebody to get to somebody, and even then, good luck. Really, it's super easy to book an act at Music in Demand. You just go on the site, click book now, and we'll follow up with you. You don't have to be a venue, you don't have to be a talent buyer, you don't have to be running a festival. You can be having a birthday party or a wedding or what have you. And I think that access is better for artists, it's better for our community, and it's certainly better for the consumer. And as agents, our job should be to connect artists to opportunities. And I don't know if I know in my career historically that was like not exactly the setup, but it is at this agency. We're very artist first, community first.
And while we're on the website, I also noticed that you mentioned this with drag in demand, but you also have enveloped in this to this platform drag performers and drag performances, which I think is wildly huge. A lot of our audience knows that I'm based out of Florida. The law going back into effect again around public drag performances, taking work away from a lot of our artist
Yeah.
friends. And so platforms like yours help keep them occupied, busy, booked and blessed, as I like to say. So
Yeah, for sure.
amazing.
It's important. It's a time where they want us to shrink and be quiet, and we're doing the exact opposite of that. My take is that, if we all stick together, there's safety in numbers, and I think that works. And I know it works. I've seen it work in a business way too. Us all trying to sort of stay in a scarcity mindset and be sort of like, oh my god, I got to protect this of my own. That doesn't work anymore. That's like kind of over. And so we take a radically collaborative approach across the board with artists as well as with partners. And I think, as we're launching into Pride season, also taking a different approach than has historically been taken there as well. I think, our being able to meet people where they're at is why we're good for artists. It's also why we're good for people trying to book artists.
I think in that same token, like I want to dig into this a little bit too. I love the name Music in Demand because I feel like for so long, queer artists, even just our community, have been treated as like a niche or alternative
Yeah.
option. And so, like, how does it feel now to flip that script and tell the world, like, and big brands that, our sound is actually what's in demand right now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it always has been, which is what's so messed up about the whole thing. Like mainstream pop music, just as an example, has always taken from queer culture, has always pulled from ballroom, has always looked to drag to be inspired. And I think, just naming that and having that be the business model, like above water where everyone can see it shouldn't be radical, but it kind of is. It's a
Yeah.
new approach. And I think especially in a time where like some companies I'll say have been pulling back their support of pride or of our communities, I think us providing a really easy, shiny, exciting, happy way to support is also a big piece of it.
There's all of that, and mutual friends of ours, Jim Verraros. When
Hey, I
Hey,
love Jim.
girl. We had a really touching conversation with him. Around this gay artist supporting other gay artists.
Yeah.
And Music in Demand is just another tool to help us do that, in a place that we can go book wedding entertainment, birthday party entertainment. Like it's a really incredible place because I wouldn't have known where to do that. I'd have to go out into the ether and then find somebody and by happenstance hope that maybe we identified.
For
So
sure. Yeah. I think it's cool because we're kind of a one-stop shop, right? Like even if you are a Pride festival, to have to go and work with so many different agents and managers and talent and it does get complicated. And I think with teams sort of shrinking at times with budgetary restrictions, we can help sort of fill in those gaps in a way that makes it super easy. And we're connected to a lot of other agencies and community members and acts that aren't necessarily signed directly to us as well. That radical collaborative spirit comes in handy. We really do, practice what we preach there.
Yeah. I mean, John, I love this platform. We're so happy you're on, Logan. What are some goals for this platform? Like, what do you have? Like, what's next? Like, what are you guys trying to cook in this?
Yeah, we have a lot of tours that we're announcing. We're going to be sending our artists out on the road this year. We're having a big 2-day festival in Portland in July that is featuring all artists from all of the rosters at Gaber's Groups. Drag in demand, music in demand, comedians in demand, gabers in demand, all sorts of in demand talent, all in one place. I think as far as the question about goals, I want to prove that, continue to prove that LGBTQ plus art is good business, that visibility and safety for all of our communities actually is what people are looking to invest in. And I think, from the artist standpoint, I want these acts to blow up. I want the folks that have not gotten their flowers yet to get their flowers that were deserved a long time ago, potentially. And if you're an up and coming act that we're working with, I want you to get your flowers and not have to wait so long for them. I think there's a lot of, I came up in the early days of Logo, and a lot of our roster are people that I came up with that are working still, that have been working this whole time. And my goal is for these beautiful trees to not just be falling in the forest. I think, folks have been doing a really good job making noise on their own, and we're amplifying that. That's really all we're doing is collectively making that noise easier and I think easier to find and easier to make.
Totally. With the goals and stretching, like sort of music in demand, what can we look for? Sort of. So you guys are doing festivals. You guys are doing more bookings. What are some aspirations that like you think that you have the next 5 years, 10 years? Where do you see this going?
For sure. I would love for more Pride partnerships to be happening. We're in Pride pitch season right now. I would love for more sort of corporations to circle back around that maybe have gotten scared or have been in a standstill to be able to bring them back into the fold successfully. I think growing our team is a big goal. Signing 30 artists, I will admit, like, this idea was a good one. I love it. I didn't think it was going to grow quite as fast as it did. And so that was really exciting. My take is that people want this, people need this, and we're offering something that's really useful, not just to artists, but to the general public, as well as like, community nonprofits and folks that are looking to support. I think in 5 years, I'd love us to be really living out our global ethos. We are a
Mm-hmm.
global agency. We have acts that are signed in Australia as well as North America. And I would love for that to expand. We opened an office in Thailand. And, I think some of the work that we're doing right now is about sort of walking down that path of what it means to be a global agency and what a roster of a global agency should look and sound like.
It's so great, all of those goals, and good luck. But I have to also ask if we can get a little personal here. I'm sure there are some
Yeah, of
personal
course.
goals here too, because you've been so open about your journey with mental health and recovery. So, in an industry like the music licensing industry, which can be probably as high pressure as I imagine, how do you keep the human at the center of the business? Is Music in Demand like a trauma informed agency? Is it able to support? Like how does
Yeah,
it? How does
for
that go?
sure. Well, I've got these two dogs that are off camera that really are a support system as I work for my personal sort of well-being. And I'm 18 years into recovery from addiction to drugs and alcohol. I am a long time into it at this point, and it is sort of a guiding light in my life and also my career. So, to
Yeah.
your question about is Music in Demand a trauma-informed agency, like, yes, it is. And we
Good.
start all our meetings with "How are you feeling?" And we start, we're meeting people where they're at around wellness. I have a lot of hungry artists that are excited to go out on tour, and I'm having a lot of conversations about like what doing 300 shows a year actually looks and feels like, and maybe us pacing some of that in a different way. People are calibrated because of the way the industry has trained us all to think scarcity mindset, now or never, gotta go until I'm, can't go no more. And that's like a recipe for disaster. It was a recipe for disaster in my life. I'm not interested in ever like facilitating that for other people. I'm interested in helping other people sort of skip the suffering.
As somebody who has said goodbye to alcohol for 3 years, I could attest to all those things.
Congrats.
Thank you for being, for your, guidance there too. That's awesome. Congrats to you
Yeah,
as
for
well.
sure. I mean, it's so important. I would not want to, be offering myself or my services to anyone in my previous state. So I thank my recovery for making all this possible in some ways. A lot of my partners in this work are in recovery too. I think it's a common thing in nightlife and in rock and roll to be at a certain point in your career or in your life and just look around and be like, this doesn't work for me anymore. And so, I'm always happy to connect our artists to more resources as needed. Always happy to help other people in our partner network. And I think part of how you do that is you just don't work people to the bone. You don't ask people to do things that they don't want to do. You don't prioritize money over safety. It's like stuff that should just be like obvious, but the
Basic, yeah.
entire industry is built around not doing that. So, we're saying that stuff out loud because it needs to be said.
I mean, when you think about that, because I think that's interesting, like dovetailing a little bit into the artist, like, it's not just one sound, it's a spectrum, and your catalog shows that. So when you're looking for new artists or composers to bring into the fold, like, what is that it factor that you're looking for that Hollywood is probably just overlooking?
Silly Hollywood. You know,
What do they know? What do they
yeah,
know?
not much is my experience. Just kidding, Hollywood. You're lovely if you're listening. I, you know, I ultimately feel like there's a lot going on in LGBTQ world that hasn't been mined. That's so gross to be thinking about it from a mining standpoint, but Hollywood is always looking for the next thing.
Hmm.
There's such a depth and breadth of our LGBTQ community from an art standpoint. Hollywood has not begun to scratch the surface. So, I think us presenting opportunities for the mainstream to see what we see, which is that queer and trans people are powerful. Queer and trans art is necessary. I believe it's the antidote to what's happening right now. So, as I'm thinking about artists that we want to onboard, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about the revolution. I'm thinking about what I needed when I was a kid. I'm thinking about all the different types of LGBTQ plus art and people out there and how we can represent even a small sliver of that. And I think, your earlier question around what success looks like, it's that. It's not like
Hmm.
tokenizing, it's like actually creating space in our agency as well as in venues as well as in community for all different kinds of queer and trans people to not just play but find their audience, be successful, and have that be sustained. Anyone can bring on a queer or trans person to any job, anywhere, anytime. I want to know how long those people work there. How long have they been feeling safe enough to stay? Like that sustaining piece is, I think, the crux of our work and what we're trying to facilitate all across the board.
And inside all of that, you're still this incredible artist who has this incredible catalog of work. And so we've seen you collaborate with everyone from Elliott Smith and then with major brands, and then I'm sure the spectrum and the pendulum swings for further on both sides. But what is the one thing that you can achieve through an agency like Music in Demand that you couldn't achieve by just being a solo artist on stage?
Well, I think part of it is that we have, decades and decades of relationships that we're leveraging at the agency level for all the artists on the roster. Those relationships and part of that navigation thing I was talking about earlier, we've done a little bit of the hard work around weeding out the folks that are like out to get you. So
Hmm.
we're never putting our artists in front of that element. And unfortunately, even now, and in some ways, especially now, that still really exists. So I think keeping artists safe in a number of ways, financially, emotionally, their brand, all of that is top tier what we're offering. I think also like just the ability to do some of the work in the background. Artists should be artists. Artists should be writing songs, playing songs, collaborating, figuring out who they are in the public space, and then we can help find brands to help deliver that. They shouldn't be like in spreadsheet mode ever, is my take.
Yeah.
Unless you're calibrated like me, which I'm very like both. For whatever reason, I am able to do sort of the analytical strategy thing as well as write songs. And there are a lot of people that are like that. Doesn't necessarily mean that you should have to be. I think there's a level of focus that can't happen if you're doing everything by yourself. And part of what we're offering beyond just like the marketing and the booking and the brand connection and all of that is a community where there's cross collaboration happening. There's a refocusing on who you're trying to be out in the world as an artist, as a performer, and then us helping strategize how you get from here to there.
So amazing. Logan, this conversation has been exciting. We need to take a personal turn, though. We like to play a little game towards the end of our podcast. We like to call it this or that.
Great.
You answer one of the choices. We love it if you give us a little bit of a reason why you answered. But if it's uncomfortable, you don't have to. Total vibe check. Don't overthink it.
Okay.
It's time for another round of this or that, the unhinged get to know you game.
Okay. The first one, Portland rain or LA sun?
Portland rain. I am, a ginger, and LA at times of the year, while beautiful, is a little take me to the hospital around the heat.
Yeah, I could see that. I did the whole Goldilocks turn around the country: Florida, Chicago, San Francisco. Just
Yeah.
right, too hot, too cold.
Yeah.
I totally get it. Are you into writing in the morning or recording at night?
Recording at night. Morning is tough. Tough sell. No,
Yeah,
thank
I'm a
you.
morning person, but most people are not. I agree.
Not-
Okay.
I mean, it's great for you. Congrats. That's how the
I
world
know.
wants you to be. And so it would be much more useful if I was. I'm just not.
Yeah. No, listen, we're all wired differently. Okay. A deep lyric or a dance hook?
Can I have both?
Yeah.
You can have anything you want, Logan.
I feel like I can't choose, but I like both. That's sort of been what I've been trying to do my whole career is a little bit of both.
As my therapist says, there can be and outcomes.
Ooh, your therapist is right.
So it might work for this one too, but are you into showers or baths?
Showers.
Yeah.
Many showers. I'm into shower products also. Like I have a pretty stacked routine.
What's your go-to brand?
Flamingo Estate.
Ooh,
I like it. I'll have to look into it. Not heard
Yeah.
of
Pretty
it.
lovely.
Okay.
she sounds lovely. Okay. Are you meeting on the apps or are you meeting in person?
I'm not meeting, but
Okay.
I am not on any apps. No. Does
Yep.
Instagram count as an app? I am on
Sure.
Instagram. I'm not
A
on
DM
Instagram in
counts.
a sexy way though, just in a music way. I keep
Are-
thinking I'll meet someone in real life at a coffee shop someday, or like that one of my friends will hook me up with someone who's like, normal.
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
Normal.
Great. I'm shooting for normal, but amazing would be even better.
Shoot for the stars, land on the moon. You know what they say.
Yeah.
Are you, when you're playing music, are you going for a big diva pop hit, or are you going to go for a deep baritone or a raspy sort of like bar sound?
I don't know. I can't imagine that I would ever be going for a pop diva. Are you saying when
Yeah.
I'm making music or when I'm listening to music?
No, when you're listening, not making.
I was like, this is
listening.
a whole identity question.
Yeah. That's another podcast that we'll bring you back for.
Very deep. We've hit one of my edges. No, when I'm listening to music, I always listen to music from like 1991 to 1996.
The best.
rock, girl voice, jingle jangly guitar. My iPod is iPod even. The iPod's not around. My
I don't think
iPod
so.
was what my CDs were, and is what again is now on my phone.
I love it. You can iPod. I'm gonna TiVo after this. We'll just take it back. Just throw it back.
Listen, 100%. Are you a scruff or no scruff kind of guy?
I like a little scrub. If we're talking about facial hair and not apps,
Totally up to you to decipher, but yes, we agree.
Yeah, I'm into scruff. I'm actually into whatever people feel they want to present as.
Oh, that's beautiful,
And I mean
actually. I
that in
like
a
that.
non-political way. Like if I like someone, I want you to feel like you look like you want to look.
Yes,
I love that.
beautifully said.
At the end of the day, do you want to be known for your music or for the impact that you're making?
Ooh, could it be both again?
That's a hard
I
one.
I think impact. I think that's the reason I'm making music this whole time, the way I make it. I think I've always wanted my life and my work and my art to matter to somebody, and that I was useful along the way. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. Logan, one more question before we wrap up, because I want to bring it back to music in demand. If there is one artist out there right now sitting in their bedroom making music and feeling like the industry just is not built for them, what is the one thing you want them to know about the future of music in demand?
Well, first I would just say fuck the industry.
That's right.
And don't listen to anybody, to keep doing you. And if you're looking for representation, I think we are always looking for new artists, new talent. You can hit us up on the website, send links to the A&R team. We make that part very easy too. There really are no gates anymore, or at our agency there never have been. We built it a gate-free environment, and so if you're doing something that matters to you, I think the likelihood of it mattering to someone else is pretty high. Hit us up.
It's amazing what you're doing. We're so inspired by what you're building. You just mentioned how budding artists can get a hold of you, but where can our besties, our audience, go to support the artists on your roster and follow Music in Demand's journey?
Yeah, musicindemand.com is the way to check out the roster. There's links to videos and live performances and bios and things on there. Also, everybody's on social media, so follow them there as well. Those are
All
all
the
linked
things.
on the site. And you can follow LGBTQ Music in Demand on Instagram. We're also on TikTok and Blue Sky and YouTube, LinkedIn.
Yeah,
We're everywhere, everybody.
we're everywhere. Awesome.
Except the bad
Awesome.
place. We're not there.
Well, you never know.
The day is young.
Thank you, Logan. We appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on. We'll have you back soon. We
Thanks.
hope.
Appreciate it.
Bye. This was Out Loud and Laughing.
We're available everywhere you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, iHeart, or wherever.